she's just all around so easy to use and fits into all comps really well. I mean, there's never a comp where you're like, I don't need a tank right now. I don't want a front line.
Well, she's so reliable. No mana. You can always find opportunities to gank. And because she clears so quickly, the sustain is always high. And you can basically get the first move almost always when you're playing Rek'Sai. So she's super reliable in that sense. And you can just fit her in almost every composition. It doesn't matter what you're running. You have a Rek'Sai, and then she's always strong.
Yeah. I think that Rek'Sai, honestly, is just like the premier jungler right now. And I'm honestly really surprised because every time I tune into IMT games, it seems like Reignover is playing Rek'Sai. And that's been like highly regarded as one of his best champions. So I don't know, I'm really surprised to see if he gets it again because, I mean, every time he gets it, he really goes off in the early game. And he's really good at controlling like the first 10 minutes, how you talked about his first 10 minutes. He's really good at just farming and warding and stuff, and that's what Rek'Sai does best. So.
It's that tax, that jungle tax.
Yeah, especially since Rek'Sai is one of those champions that very easily builds Sightstone. You can even see most Rek'Sais completing Sightstone before the jungle.
So I like that Olaf ban because the Olaf ban is basically saying, you know, Olaf is considered like the counter to the Rek'Sai. You can pick Olaf to the Rek'Sai.
It's like a dare. It's like, okay, you need to first pick Rek'Sai
it's like,
right now.
If you don't take Rek'Sai, you don't have the counter. But I'm sure they feel comfortable taking the Gragas into it, which has been the matchup that, you know, it's commonly taken. So since you've been playing most recently, what do you think of the Gragas into the Rek'Sai and vice versa?
I mean, honestly, I think that Rek'Sai is just a better champion overall, but Gragas has the ability, he has a little bit better team fighting, and maybe his ganks aren't as good early. Actually, they're sort of equal in that regard, but I just think that Gragas is picked into Rek'Sai because it's just a comfortable champion. You can normally push him out 1v1, and you have decent team fighting as well. So
I just love the playmaking that's available on Gragas. Like, you can make plays on lanes that usually would not be gankable by other champions.
Which, by the way, did you know that you can R flash? You can throw out the cast flash, and then the move, it'll be like Lee Sin, the flash kick flash. You can do it on Gragas as well. So.
Definitely, I really want to see people like take that risk. However, that's such a huge risk in game.
I mean,
to look like a fool.
There's some crazy Gragas players out there that make these montages where they do these plays.
Yeah.
It's insane. And if somebody in the NLCS master that on Gragas, it's gonna just skyrocket.
Oh, you know, one of my favorites is also Gragas leaves a barrel fermenting on the ground and then uses the ult to ping pong, shoot them into it while it's fully charged up, and go for those kills. Those AP Gragas montages are pretty good.
For that one, for Reckless and Worlds.
Yeah.
Is that the Warwick pick?
Stixxay and his favorite champion here.
Do we know why he does that?
Yes, I know. It's just his favorite
okay.
champion.
Okay.
I was like, oh, why do you do that? And he's like, I like Warwick. Okay, simple. He's a simple man, you know. I like Warwick. I will mouse over him. You have to be careful. In Korea, they picked 2 Teemo games by accidentally trolling like that.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was it LCK?
Yeah, Teemo top. It was
God.
interesting.
Oh, that's what the tweets were about then. I saw a bunch of people tweeting about Teemo top.
But I think
there it is. Don't
pretty
get
obvious
stuck on
here
them.
for Immortals. They're most likely just going to go with a Gragas as the last pick. Really can't really expect it. Immortals usually plays either the Nidalee or the Gragas for having that front line and the engagements. Huni is not going to be the one playing a tank. Just, okay, it's the Immortals flavor.
Oh, baby. Reignover going to take up the Nidalee, it looks like. And that will be, maybe they'll get a tank in the top lane. Anyway, CLG, they're running the Aurelion Soul once again. I really like this mid lane. And also as a jungler, this is one of the ones that I would focus on because of the way he always plays it. He tries to play so aggressively on Azir. He clears the first wave while going for harassment. He's almost always past the halfway point. And Aurelion Soul is pretty easy to gank. Yeah. If you hit him with any sort of CC, you know, the balls stop turning and he's pretty easy to finish off. So we'll see if Reignover tries to actually attack mid this game.
Well, I think that right now with the Hecarim, it's pretty obvious. They're looking to just camp Huni once again. You have a self-sustaining bottom lane with Karma and Lucian. Really easy. The Azir, you can just let him beat while you have the kill opportunity onto Huhi, as you mentioned. We know that he loves to camp for Huni. So whatever Darshan, there's nothing safe that Darshan can pick here into Hecarim with Hecarim Nidalee, especially post-level 6. If you don't have flash, if you're not tanky, you're just going to get dove and killed.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be the Gnar. I would think, because that lane you can go even early, and you're also strong in team fights or whatever. But I don't know. I'm pretty interested to actually watch how Xmithie and Reignover play around middle, because I think that lane's going to be really volatile, to be honest. Especially when Azir hits 6 and gets that Azir sec, it's really easy for Nidalee to gank. But I don't know. I think these junglers are pretty evenly matched in terms of their power in the meta right now. So
That is bold. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
I mean, no.
That just makes you like, oh, I want to be top. I also want to be mid. I want to be top. So the junglers are probably going to be in that, triangle of the top of the map right now. Mid lane, top lane, mid lane, top lane, into my jungle, back to
So
mid
I think
lane.
the problem with this is that Immortals has winning lanes and CLG does not. So what Xmithie is going to try to do, he's going to try to help the lanes as much as possible so that they don't fall behind. But the issue with that is that if he looks for too many opportunities and doesn't get anything and wastes some time, that is the cue for Reignover to get ahead. And the second that Nidalee gets ahead from you, she's never going to come back, and it's going to be lights out from then on.
It's so difficult to catch up to her because Nidalee builds damage early, and Rek'Sai is going to build mostly health. Like, Rek'Sai's clear speed doesn't increase nearly as fast as Nidalee does. As soon as she gets going, after pretty much the first clear, she's going to have, experience advantage and clear so quickly.
I mean, I think, honestly, Nidalee and Rek'Sai are a little bit more evenly matched in that regard. At least until Nidalee when she really gets the Runic Echoes, that's when she picks up a lot. But before that, I think Rek'Sai can kind of go even until, level 8, maybe. Level 8, 9, but, yeah. I don't know. I'm really interested to see how they play around top lane.
So do you think CLG should just go with standard lanes and try to duke it out with more ganks?
Yeah, probably. I mean, considering that Huni took the Ghost, Rek'Sai can gank that really easily with Flash. So, I don't know. I want to see what they do in that regard.
Yeah, I'm always really curious if it's going to be standard lanes or lane swap, because this is one of those games where there's so much that the junglers could do in standard lanes to try and affect these lanes early, but might actually end up being lane swaps. We'll wait until we get into the game here and try and crack the openings.
CLG known as a team to always try to look for some sort of lane swap, and it wouldn't be surprising since they're already doing a group level 1. I mean, Bard Jax, you couldn't really ask for a stronger level 1 unless you had the...
Maybe you have, bunch of supports for your level 1. It's like the old days
that
of the...
probably would be the best
the
level
dragon
1.
fights, the level 1 dragon fights over 4 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe?
You'd have Braum, Shen, Bard, Alistar. Top it off with a Lulu just to proc everything.
Well, we are going to get the lane swap wards. Looks like CLG are going to probably try for it.
So yeah, it's really interesting already that Reignover already showed that he's skill W and that he's showing in mid lane. So usually junglers don't linger around mid lane when an invade happens. And the thing is, when he starts W, it's really critical that he gets his traps laid down and starts, setting the path for where he's going to jungle. And the fact that this happened kind of is a little bit worrying because he could have easily just not taken that harass and just started his camps a little bit faster.
Yeah, now he's only got one trap preemptively placed on the map, which is going to cut down on that first clear.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredibly risky in a competitive match to start W in the first place, because if you do get lane swapped on, you don't get to set up your traps, and that's the entire reason why that is strong, right? So, I mean, old W, before they changed it to have the insane cooldown that it did now, it didn't matter as much, and you could start traps pretty much whenever you wanted, but it's going to slow down the clear a lot more, and it'll definitely, I think, give Rek'Sai an edge, sort of, and when I say an edge, I just mean, it'll delay Nidalee from getting ahead like she normally would in terms of her clear.
Well, the lane stuff's going to come out, and he did have those 2 traps set at the Raptor camp, but he could have had those traps with the red buff and do it a little bit faster. And while I think that a lot of people look at the lane stuff and think that it's really boring and monotone, I actually really enjoy the junglers in the lane stuff because everybody's left to their own devices, and the jungles have the opportunity to kind of choose what path they take and greed out and try to stick around certain sides of the map and really get some extra camps.
Yeah, and stuff like this with the invade here, CLG chasing him off his own red buff. That's the kind of the reasons why we don't see the more flimsy junglers ever in competitive play. You have to be one of these top tier jungle champions because you're not going to get the super free leash early. You're not going to get the freedom in your own jungle even.
Ooh. So Xmithie using his time on the jungle to just get an extra harass on mid lane. Unfortunately, it actually backfires horrendously because now Huhi took a big chunk, and the trade's really not that great. And you notice that Adrian chose not to invade onto Xmithie and kind of harass him out, so he was able to get that entire side of the camp for free, which usually you see the support just stick around in that side and just harass him out. But he used that pressure, but unfortunately, if Huhi hadn't taken that harass, I think it would have been somewhat worth it, but now Nidalee's going to basically be even with Rek'Sai.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Huhi looked like he got a little bit greedy there because Poe Belter did get so low, and he was like, maybe one more Comet hit would be able to take him out, but did slow down Xmithie a little bit. He'll get in there for the red buff steal, but honestly, early game, if I'm playing against someone and they spend all this time going for an invade to steal away just my buff and I get 2 small camps out of it, I feel ahead. Like, I don't feel bad about it at all.
Yeah, I mean, because you can't really use the red buff in the early game, but I mean, it is a fact that Reignover right now, after this clear happens, he's going to be 1 camp behind just because of Reignover getting forced off by Bard. But to be honest, it shouldn't matter too much just because Nidalee's clear speed is so fast that normally even if she gets behind, she'll even it out eventually.
Yeah. He got the buff that matters. The blue buff is the one that matters for the early game there for Nidalee.
Well, I'm actually not really liking that Xmithie's choosing not to go for the Gromp, where he could have easily just gotten an extra camp, and CLG just going for a wonky swap where they send the dual lane to top and then they change their minds and just go bottom. So he's missing out on camps that he could have, whereas Reignover is able to just go into the top side and easily just get that extra camp ahead, which I think just is a little blunder by CLG already, which is just going to put Reignover a little bit further up.
Yeah, Reignover's going to join here for the push on top side. That's basically, as a jungler, one of the biggest things you focus on in lane swaps are the big waves that build up. And now he wants to make sure that Huni doesn't get ganked or something while he tries to push that up into the top side.
Well, even though Darshan was super low level, there's really no early dive pressure with Nidalee and Hecarim onto the Jack. So it's good that Xmithie doesn't have to be in that side since he knows that Darshan's really in no threat at all. All it takes is 1 counter strike and the dive's already deterred.
And look at that, Immortals at a very, very small gold lead here, but Reignover has wasted no time. Neither of these guys have wasted any time. They're always traveling to the next point to try and continuously clear. Neither of them have gone back to base. I mean, Acadian, you played I guess the most recent lane swaps of any of us up here. When do you usually even get back for your first base in a lane swap?
I mean, honestly, with these champions, it's usually pretty late. I mean, I think we just saw Xmithie had about 2,000 gold. So, I mean, I'd say generally if there's no cheese involved in the games, you normally get back with maybe 1,500 to 2,000 gold most of the time because you just want to clear until the teams match, which they've matched now. So now it actually matters that you have items. You're not just killing camps anymore. You might have to actually fight someone. So.
Well, I think this is going to be the time after the base where Reignover's going to really start to catch up or really get ahead from Xmithie.
Yeah.
He went with the Sightstone build, which is 0 damage towards the camp, whereas he went with the trackers and the Aether Wisp. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Aether Wisp because, or not the Aether Wisp, but the Tracker Smite, because that means you get more smites to do the jungle faster.
Yeah.
And you don't misclick at Baron.
Definitely true. Let's take a look here. As you can see, we're going to toggle the vision to Xmithie's vision right now. And see what choices he's going to make. Heads up top lane here to try and save Darshan.
I mean, really what you're saying is or what you're seeing is every time that the lanes are matched and they don't have a turret right here, when the outer turret is gone, both junglers will almost always be putting pressure up the top. But
oh, he is in there. Good knockup from Xmithie that time around, but Darshan doesn't get the stun.
God, everybody's up here. It's a party.
Oh.
That's going to be a triple. Oh. That is a really nice collapse from CLG.
Oh, man. Yeah. He's really greedy here, though.
Wow.
Man, they are all over this, cleaning it up. Did they get all
kill.
3? All right, there they go. They did get all 3 eventually. It was a little bit messy, but goes down to the turret, though, as well.
Well, the best thing is that CLG doesn't even lose any turrets out of this. The wave was already pushed in the bot side, and frankly, Darshan might be able to just TP bottom and catch that fat wave.
Yeah, Xmithie wishes he would have gotten 6 off that. Rek'Sai could, go back for a quick heal and maybe, go take that wave bottom as Lucian's pushing up into the turret or something, but
see right there.
going to be able to smite that red buff for the extra health back.
Yeah, so Darshan just TP'd bot and he catches up. So that's a really nice collapse by CLG. And that defense just shows how the Rek'Sai versus Nidalee matchup is pretty evenly matched as we started the segment off, because anytime that Nidalee jumps in, Rek'Sai can always just press the Unburrow and you immediately stop the damage from Nidalee. She falls behind and she has to flash back in to catch up.
yeah. I mean, this is what I was talking about, right? Anytime the wave is pushed up, both junglers always have to go top to protect their top laner, and normally it turns into a fight.
Damn, that was a nice knockup to interrupt Pounce, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the collapse that they went all the way from bottom lane, all of CLG in.
Yeah.
I think they pinged it out too, but they were too far ahead.
triple knock-up, nice as well. This is where they got a bit greedy. You can see Afro's like, I could finish Pobelta here, but I want the double stun so we can get 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then they aren't all really fully in on this, but they do end up getting it with the extra heal and flash there from Stixxay. How does Darshan die?
Okay. Yeah, he just dies to turret after
He didn't take aggro.
I don't know.
It looked like the soldier.
Honestly, he could have just waited for Sivir to take
Stixxay.
aggro, and then he wouldn't have died, but I guess he was getting hyped, so.
Yeah, you know, you get hyphy. You killing immortals, you're gonna get hyphy.
Yeah.
All right, so now Xmithie's getting a little bit tankier. He finally completed the Bami Cinder, so he's dealing a little bit more damage. And with the boots early, it's a little bit more gank pressure. So I'm expecting them to go gank mid lane because Pobelta has no summoners. Bard's close to hitting level 6. Hoovie's able to really pressure him. And if we don't see another gank on Pobelta, it's going to be a little bit of a
This is interesting. Hecarim actually went behind Jax. They're trying to pressure this guy again. I think Darshan actually might die.
Yeah, he has no flash.
It's a pretty good gank. Rek'Sai's actually coming over, though.
Afro's there.
Oh.
Darshan might die, huh?
Yeah,
Aye.
Darshan might die, but then... Yeah,
welcome to caster curses.
Well, even then, you got Xmithie there, just a little bit far behind. So at least they're in the right place at the right time. Like maybe a little bit slower than Reignover, as we've come to expect from one of the top junglers here in LCS. But he's still there nonetheless, and he's able to convert to this tier 2.
I mean, that's the things we're trying to track right now, right? It's so critical how quickly you can make these decisions. Xmithie's thinking about, if I was Reignover, where would I go to try and attack right now? Darshan is overextended. You know, maybe Darshan's going to need a counter gank. And able to flip
the
in
one
there.
that's really getting shafted from all this is Stixxay. He's falling behind in CS from here, and he's just getting zoned off the turret. But hopefully Afro can make it back to the lane. But Xmithie's been trying to put all the pressure onto Darshan, which is the right pick. If you pick Jax, you can frankly pick it into pretty much anything as long as you put enough attention into that lane.
Especially if my team or both teams are running these Trinity Force top laners. Whenever I see those matching up against each other, like the race to Trinity Force is so big. And you have to assume like the other jungler's going to want to try and take part in that too. So, you know, they're trying to get Darshan there first, and Stixxay is the one that has to soak up the extra pressure.
Yeah, I mean, right here, right where Rek'Sai is, this is exactly where you want to be, I think, in terms of the Rek'Sai versus Nidalee matchup. I mean, he's gotten away from the early game. He's about even with Nidalee, and I think, honestly, Rek'Sai will outscale Nidalee in terms of, like, team fighting and stuff, as long as Nidalee doesn't get a really big advantage in the early mid-game, and he was able to kind of curb that, so I think Rek'Sai, honestly, will just be more useful this game for his team than Nidalee will be.
So now that he's saved the actual jungle smite, since obviously the completion of the jungle item isn't necessary anymore, would you go with the red smite here? Personally, I'm a big fan of red smite with the
I think honestly, especially in like important competitive matches, red smite, like he's not really going to be going in on his own to 1v1 Reignover. So I think honestly he's just going to go blue smite like pretty much everyone else. And I mean, it just helps you. It helps you get closer for the Unburrow, gives you speed, etc.
Yeah,
all those things.
Well, I only like the red one for the team fighting, so you can basically put yourself in a more dangerous position and then tank a little more.
Oh, Reignover actually gonna stick around. So is Pobelta. They get a free ulti out. It's interesting. What's your reaction usually when you see a Rek'Sai ulting in on that tunnel? I guess they knew they had the inner track here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just knew that they were going to kill Afro or something, because Reignover completely, like, he saw it and he just ignored Xmithie coming in.
Well, when Rek'Sai ults, you can actually just look at the minimap and figure out where she's ulting. So if you've seen the tunnel and you have an idea where it is, you can just look through every single tunnel, like, where is it, and they can figure out what they're trying to do. And usually, putting tunnels in vision, it can be a pretty good giveaway of what the Rek'Sai is trying to do.
Yeah, let's take a look at it now from, you know, Reignover's perspective, because they are a little bit down, but it's not like a tremendous amount for Immortals right now. They can still easily recover this. It's just that little does Reignover know there are still Xmithie sight wards, you know, sitting in his jungle right now. But for Nidalee, it often doesn't even matter. She's just power clearing. Oh, there's no more camps here left anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm getting my experience.
It doesn't even matter. He's just power clearing over and over and over again. But I think one thing I find is it's pretty easy to get an advantage. Like you just saw, he was level 9 to level 7 earlier, and Xmithie just leveled up recently, so he's about a full level ahead. But it's harder to keep your level advantage when the mid game comes, I think. So.
Well, they have the level advantage difference now, so the scaling, instead of working on level missing, it's on the percentage. So it should benefit Xmithie a little bit more, and really kind of nurse to the snowballing junglers like the Nidalee that really base themselves off getting that level advantage and keeping it that way. And none of these junglers are going to even try to go for the dragon, and usually around in games like these, you see junglers like Nidalee just go into the Dragon Pin, just try to solo it. It is the Clown Drake, so we're probably not going to see it, but...
Hey, on live, the Clown Drake.
It got angry. It got angry.
It's almost, it's huge.
But
now.
it's the, I actually think it would be worth it. While you want to put a lot of the attention into the Jax lane, Hecarim is starting to catch up a little bit, but the Wind Dragon does help Hecarim. Right, he does benefit from this more than any other champion in the game.
I mean, people always say that. You know the percentage conversion from move speed to damage for Hecarim? You know, on this, yeah.
It's tiny.
It actually adds 4 damage late game for Hecarim. So you're like, helps him out more. Yeah, that 4 damage late game.
You go into the replays like, what, you couldn't lane? Well, I give you 4 extra damage, dude.
But yeah, honestly, this is still, pre-buff Cloud Drake. So it's not going to attract the junglers or the teams, for that matter, quite as much. But let's look at Reignover here, because Reignover is going to win the 1 versus
So
1.
this is the point where you basically leave the Jax alone, since he's strong enough to 1v2, and that's really dangerous because you see Xmithie just completely ignoring the Jax lane now, and he's able to just put all his attention into the top side, which allows the dual lane to catch back up. So it's a bit of a sacrifice. Stixxay says early, hey, I'll let you fall behind if you can help me out later, and that's exactly what's happening.
See, I'm telling you, that race to Trinity Force, Darshan won it immediately. Boom, gets a kill. He's even got Ninja Tabby. Like, that helps out so much against Hecarim.
Well,
here we go, though.
It's actually really interesting. Xmithie invaded for wards without his team backing him up.
Oh, that is a lot of damage.
And when you say interesting, you mean questionable.
Calculated?
Yeah, calculated.
But
he's just trying to give his.
Was that a smarts or a dumb?
That was a smarts because you get mid lane turret out of that. So ultimately,
he knew it all along.
Not only did he blow all the summoners from mid lane, he's also able to turn the turret as
Goddamn
well.
genius here, Xmithie. Look at this. He's like, yeah, I got caught here.
You look back on this, that if you're looking at it on the coaching perspective, you're like, man, should I even argue against it? This looks pretty good.
I mean, I think though, just as a general concept, he shouldn't have been looking for wards when he didn't see Azir. Like Azir wasn't pressured yet in middle. Brilliant Soul was still pushing in the wave, and he went in for wards like that. So
yeah, I mean, it always is that kind of calculated risk. You have to try and take into account, the position I last saw all the enemy champions, and then is my mid laner going to be able to collapse or not? Screw it. I'm willing to take the risk here.
Well, I feel like Azir is like the new Syndra. Before, when you gank a Syndra as a jungler, nobody wants to gank Syndra because you get one shot, and it's a pain in the ass. But this time, Azir, it's really hard to tell what angle he's going to come from and just shuffle you out. And so I'm sure Xmithie had an idea of what was going on, but didn't really expect that range and that angle from Azir, which is always unexpected. It's like playing against a longer range LeBlanc almost.
Regardless, though, all calculated, smarts from Xmithie, and they got
they
got a decent lead. Like once you get the mid turret down, I guess they didn't quite get it down, but it is Azir as well, so we can just put a new one up there. God, that's frustrating.
He walks by the Cloud Drake again, dude. This is honestly like the funniest feel as a jungler. Is just the dragon's up, and every time you go by it, you're just like, should I do it? It's just Cloud Drake. I'm not gonna do it.
I'll take that Scuttle Crab instead.
Yeah.
They actually trade that Scuttle Crab for top turret right now as the rest of the team is pushing. For me, I don't know about you guys, but like I mostly opt into playing on my strong side. I know everybody always says, don't gank winning lanes or don't gank losing lanes. But also, I'd rather just pressure on the side that my team is than try and catch up and defend a turret within a super risky situation.
Well, I think an easy way to look at it, the way I try to look at it is you look at the scores of the people that you're going to try to help out. So, for example, if Xmithie's trying to go for the top side, he's going to be fighting with a 5-3 score against a 2-5. So it looks a lot better. Whereas if you're fighting in the bottom side, you're going to be fighting in relatively even, and you're probably going to lose it since Reignover is a little bit far ahead. And now they're catching on to Adrian, who's a little bit of a fail flash.
And that's why you put all those wards. And I mean, they've got wards all over this quadrant of the jungle, right?
That's why, Rek'Sai with the Side Stone, it's just so much vision. She's going to know where everything is at all times. You have Tremor Sense, you have Prey Seeker, you have 4 warriors, you have Bard to help you out. It's nearly impossible for Reignover to slip away.
Wow. They're actually just roaming together, getting kills. I guess it goes to show you just when you get vision control in one side of the jungle, you can just. I mean, they've gotten what, 3 picks out of it, 2 picks. I don't know.
I mean, the entire it's basically the composition. They can all just roam from across walls. You have
Bard.
the Aurelion Soul just presses E and just flies away, whereas you have Bard and Rek'Sai, so it's a really good pick potential. So I really like it, and it's quite obvious that CLG rehearsed this, especially with the Rek'Sai, with the Olaf ban in the beginning saying, I dare you to pick the Rek'Sai. If you don't pick it, we're going to make a comp that revolves around this much vision, and they're able to really pull it off. And at this point, Xmithie is really nothing but just a ward and CC body where the carries are able to collapse so quickly, and Immortals just doesn't even have a way of answering back there. Shanken 1v2.
Yeah, as a jungler, like in his situation, his job is mostly done by 20 minutes, right? Most of your control is the early game, and that's where you're making all these decisions, and you're actually determining how the rest of the game is going to play out. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my knock up, I'm going to be a front line, I'm going to try and peel for you. But mostly he's tried to set up the team for success already.
At this point in the game, he hardly even has to try to be useful because of his Rek'Sai, right? I mean,
you can mess up your unburrow still sometimes, right? Because it's short.
I mean, but his job in the early game is just, okay, make sure that Nidalee doesn't go out of control, and he did a good job of that. He bought the Sightstone early, warded a bunch, and didn't get too far behind of the Nidalee, and now he's just able to play this team. And Rek'Sai, honestly, is really annoying at this point in the game because it's so hard to kill him.
Well, it's a her.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I make
it
always get tilted with
veteran
with that one. EU always gets it wrong, too. It's a her. But anyways, her job right now is basically control dragons, don't miss smites, and just always smite your Raptor camp to focus on vision now. So because you're leaving Darshan alone, you're either grouping as 1-3-1 or just 1-4, which basically wherever Afro goes, Xmithie has to go, so he can really shut off a good chunk of his brain and not really have to think about what to do.
Yeah, I actually really like that you brought up that point about which smite he's going to go for. I guess we can wait for this action, but especially as you get later into the game, like the smites really do matter which one you're going for. More often than not, as you're talking about, you want that true sight from the Raptors. But sometimes, if you're in a position, your bottom side is getting invaded or something, you really want that Wolf Spirit to see invades.
Yeah.
Or if you are full tank like Reignover, and you have an extra smite, the extra damage from Gromp always helps out. But that's one thing that a lot of people don't really think about is the buffs that you actually get from smites.
I mean, a really interesting development that I've seen people doing and that I picked up on is usually when Rek'Sai starts the game on Gromp, he doesn't actually take his blue. So I've seen people, what they've been doing is, there's a lot of other junglers just know this and they go and take the blue. So I've seen people not smite Gromp, and then as they pass the wolves, they smite the wolves and they see the other jungler go into their blue.
Yeah.
And then they can just take the other side of their jungle, because the other jungler always thinks that he's not going to know, and you could get just a free blue buff, but then you end up losing 3 camps.
Doesn't that slow them significantly with not having the Gromp? How much does that actually affect the clear?
What do you mean? It's not too bad. Rek'Sai's clearly is not as bad as it's not that bad without the Gromp, pretty much.
Yeah, the poison damage from Gromp scales so much with HP. In the early game, it's not too much. It's not huge. It does help your clear speed a little bit, but it's not like game breaking. But yeah, I definitely agree, and that is the biggest thing about jungling, right? You never want to fall into a pattern. If your enemy is like, oh, this guy always starts top side, always smites there, then they can plan around it and catch you off guard really easily.
Yeah, as a jungler, you have to be the unpredictable predictor.
That's why we play jungle, right? Smartest role.
Oh, thank you.
Think about the game the most often.
The smarts role, you mean?
Exactly. Smarts role.
And you can always call yourself, I'm the most important member of the team. Yeah. Nobody can really argue against it.
But then you also, with great power comes great responsibility. You also get flamed the hardest instantly.
Blame the lane. Blame the lane.
Yeah, blame the lane, dude. You guys suck. Why'd you die to that gank? I told you.
Yep.
It's like, I pinged.
Yeah, I pinged that he could be on your side of the map and you died, so it's your fault, not me.
It's actually one of the biggest things. Oh my goodness.
Dude, Huni has no tank stats at all. He gets just chunked out so fast.
And Reignover just doesn't have to do anything because Huni has to go in every time. Xmithie doesn't have to do anything. He just waits for Huni to get in range, or whoever's going to jump in, knocks him up, and that's all you need to do. Aurelion Soul has such a ridiculous amount of sustained damage that goes unnoticed because those stars don't look menacing at all, but in reality, I'm sure at the end of the game his charts are going to be insane.
Oh, Xmithie actually blows flash for that on Turtle. Does get the 80 carry flash in exchange though. I always like going for that trade. Because as you talk about Aurelion Soul, not only the damage over time.
Xmithie with another smarts play right there. Blows the flash so Darshan can follow it up. And
boom! Smarts. Xmithie's been smarts all day here. And you said they live and die by Xmithie. CLG currently winning against Immortals. This is a big upset, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Guys, we talked about in the beginning of the show here, Xmithie's going to have a harder time in this jungle matchup that we're looking at closely because CLG as a team haven't had a strong team play this split so far, but they're doing really well in this game.
Yeah, it's been an exceptional game of utilizing the vision that Xmithie was able to really put up after that lane swap. So the lane swap basically just nullifies the early game, and while we thought it could have benefited CLG quite a bit with the lanes, you get a much more even playing ground when you go and get the lanes up, because most people just start at the same side, and then you just turn it into a complete macro game where CLG is where they always strive.
I feel like Xmithie has almost like a magical power where whenever the
Infernal
casters,
Drake?
no,
Boom.
whenever the casters or anyone says, "Oh yeah, Xmithie looks like he's slumping, he's not doing very well," he's just like, "Don't underrate me," and then he just goes off. So.
Well, he did say in that interview like 3 times that he didn't care. Underrated.
He's like saying he gets like beat up in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, Xmithie's not doing too well." He's like, give me one of those beans.
Tune in,
Now I'm better.
tune in next week to see Xmithie kick ass.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're there. Spirit Bomb is ready to fire here for CLG.
So is that change that's going into a GA or a Dead Man's Play? Because we see Dead Man's Play, and while I like the Dead Man's Play before it got nerfed, I don't like it at all anymore.
I mean, I
because it
think
got nerfed.
I think the reason that everyone sees it on Rek'Sai is just because the stats aren't
Yeah,
bad.
they're not bad.
Also, the speed is so
Yeah,
good,
it's
especially
nice.
combined with Blue Smite. You're so fast. So, I personally, I think this is gonna be Dead Man's, but like knowing Xmithie, like he could go GA as well. I'm
The
not
thing
really
is,
sure.
wouldn't you like a...
I definitely would. I'm on Crumb's side. I would say GA. You know why? It got buffed so ridiculously much. Like, it's way cheaper now. So most of what you're paying when you pay for a GA is the passive. And now that it's cheaper, you get that revive a lot earlier, so you get more revives off.
Well, does it work with Spirit Visage? I think it might.
Huh? Yeah, because it counts as a... Or Zillion's one counts as a heal.
So then, could?
It probably does.
I mean, honestly, I think I'm a little biased because, I mean, anytime, like, I'm still building tank, but anytime I can buy anything that has damage on it, I'm like, give me that. You know?
The first auto attack damage there from Dead
Yeah.
Man's.
It's sick.
Yeah. Honestly, though, extra speed on Rek'Sai always feels so good because coming from my days of playing Udyr and getting kited, I always want as much move speed as I could possibly get in the game.
If only Swifties were what they were now back then.
Yeah.
So one thing that we didn't actually touch on that has happened the entire 26 minutes already is that Reignover didn't have boots. And personally, I really like the tier 2 boots on
Snap.
Nidalee, especially the CDR boots, because the flash reduction is nice, as well as the ability to just clear a lot faster, because once you get that jungle item, as you said, you clear so much quicker, and you really get a whole lot of benefit. And I think you can attribute that to how CLG's really, or Xmithie is able to actually catch up and move a little bit faster than what Reignover has been trying to do. So would you ever go with no boots in this matchup? Like, for example, you could have just not had that Seeker's arm guard and just have the Lucidity boots.
Yeah.
I think boots are pretty important on Nidalee, to be honest. I think move speed is a big factor in whether or not she's strong, especially in the early game. I think boots are just needed.
Exactly. Her biggest strength is mobility, right?
Yeah.
She has damage for clearing and mobility to get to opportunities that are on the map. And if you don't have, level 2, that's gonna.
Well, now one of her
delay
new
you.
strengths is her splash art.
I'm really sad
baby.
because Xmithie went back to base, and I thought we were going to see who won the prediction.
Oh.
Whether he was going to get GA or Deadman's, and then he just sold his refillable potion and didn't buy anything.
You just can't.
What the hell? That's
Yeah.
the worst trip
Oh,
to the
okay.
store ever.
So this is probably an easy Baron for them. They don't have any blue trinkets up. They're gonna
Yeah.
try to turn, but they're just scared to go in. And
Yes. This is another thing, as a jungler, if you're on Baron like right now, you're telling your team, we're finishing this, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Reignover can
dangerous.
feel it.
Ooh,
that was gorgeous.
Just kidding. If you're a
That was
jungler right now,
gorgeous.
you're telling your team,
Oh,
hey,
man.
we're immediately
That
turning
was
on
gorgeous.
Reignover.
Yeah.
Oh
Because
god,
Reignover's
that was
gonna
insane.
steal it.
I love that. You
Did he
pounced
flash
it.
Q?
Yeah, no, he pounced. He gets a hunted movement speed. He jumped in and then he flashed over into the Baron so that he could Q the Baron, time it with an execute.
So
that was sick.
we need to update here. Who's more smarts, Xmithie or Reignover? Because that was actually ridiculous.
Well, if
outplay.
you go by the notion of CLG, where they say it doesn't matter how you start but how you finish, it's definitely Reignover.
Yeah. I mean, you can do so much work early, but a Baron steal like that, and they didn't even give up much for it. Look how close the gold is. Like, that actually completely swung the game.
I mean, I think, to be honest, though, also, when you go into situations like that where the Baron's getting killed, nobody's dead, and it's sort of like a 50-50 situation. I mean, that one was also good by Reignover to close the gap, but you can't really fault the junglers. I think it's sometimes it's almost just luck, you know.
Well, I think you fault the team for this because you don't have a high Baron damage, high Baron composition.
Yeah, and after they
have
missed the bottle,
zone,
too.
you have some zone. Like you could just try to zone them off a little bit better because they were just relying on Afra. And while it's nice to rely on Afra, he's rather consistent.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit more than that.
It's exactly as we were saying when they were on Baron. You tell them we have to turn immediately right now and not finish the Baron. Look at that. That actually turned the entire thing. Immortal's going
It's
to
the heartbreaker now.
get some picks.
Yeah. No.
That Baron turned the entire game. Holy moly.
Wow.
And now they're just going to siege, and they have really, really strong siege.
Damn, that is
Baron.
so tilting for CLG, actually.
Yeah. I'd be pretty.
They're going to end. This is Immortals. Immortal likes to do this, so they're just going to try to end it right here. They got swing 5 on Hootie.
Holy moly, dude.
Oh, man. There's that GA that we've been looking for.
Oh, we won, Crow! That's what I'm talking about.
No.
It's funny because like all the play early, everything didn't even matter. It just came down to literally just a smite.
Wow. That is...
And we're like, oh yeah, they got this Baron pretty easy,
Yeah.
right? They're burning it down. Reignover literally got there just in time. It was at like 3,000.
Well, Hui's back, though. I don't think maybe. There's some hope.
Oh,
Okay,
Xmithie
not
gets
bad.
in
You
there.
have the, they saved it. They saved it.
For how long? Let's see.
I think
Is that,
long enough.
can they get 4? Nah. Nah?
You know, I feel like Xmithie
Oh.
here, he really should try to salvage this. They
what's
should
going on?
try to win this.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I do that.
Can't I do that too? You can't chase Hecarim though. That's actually ridiculous speed. Or can you Afro move? Get in there, boy.
No, you got Baron recall. I think he just gets away.
Prey Seeker?
I'm really glad that the game didn't end right there.
Yeah,
though.
that would have been so lame.
Like, I actually would have tilted like out of the entire series if I was on CLG after that.
Yeah.
Like they did so much work early on, and then they messed up at Baron. And honestly, even we were like, oh, they can probably finish this, right? It felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
But that was just a hero play.
I think to be honest, their
Let's
team
look
fight's
at
still
it.
stronger.
Yeah.
Does Aurelion Soul not have ult? What's he doing?
Oh, he throws out the stun.
You missed.
He didn't even Q.
Oh no, yeah, he got the long pounce by hunting
Yeah.
Fuhi and then flashed right next to it and just smited that.
Does that bring the damage over? Is that why he killed it from like 980?
No, so you said he didn't Q it?
No, he didn't Q it. He just landed next to it and then smited.
I don't. Yeah. So you're asking now? Did he flash the pounce damage?
Yeah, did he
right?
flat like?
It looked like he had already landed, but I mean, if he actually flashed the pounce damage,
That's next level.
then that would be next. I don't think he did though. I think that was just pure smite.
Yeah,
I think he
no.
landed already.
Yeah.
But damn, that was just like
Nice game with Tank Nidalee
ping
now.
pong getting in there.
You know, Rush was actually popular for going with this Tank Nidalee build, which
It was the Iceborne one, right?
Yeah,
Iceborne
with
Deadman?
Iceborne, and he go with just random wonky tanky items, and if you're not paying attention and you're not pressing tab, you're gonna try to kill the Nidalee as if she was a regular Nidalee, and then the AD carries the one. They're like, "Whoa, why can't I kill her? What's going on?" And then they press that. Oh, okay, and then you lose like 2 turrets because you messed up a fight for not pressing tab. Though this could catch Chuhi off guard because he will have a better time going in.
Let's take a look here one more time. If we see the animation for Pounce landing, then we know the damage is already dealt to the. It is.
Oh,
dealt to
okay,
the-
yeah, it's done.
So he just flashed.
He just flat smited.
So that's just like that's so hard to do though because you're looking at the guy you're pouncing on, and then you have to like mouse over Baron, click it, make sure it's at the right health.
It's all
and
by
then
feel.
smite.
It's all feel.
Like, boom.
Personally, I always smite by feel.
That's why you don't.
That's what I. Hey,
That's-
if you
would
have
you
one
hit that
compliment, if you got one compliment for me, it's gonna be the smite.
Oh
so
shit!
I
Look
got
at that.
That's Chuhi going off here.
Hey, Wild Turtle's still alive.
Wait, Stixay.
Oh, those crits though.
Reignover. Oh, that was pretty.
I like how he just gets out of the little circles, jumping away with the pounces.
Yeah. This is
A little mini game where okay, you gotta wait for the turbines to go.
yeah, one of those. What is it? Indiana Jones? Like he's running through the blades.
I honestly think just like with the compositions, CLG, it seems hard for them to actually lose a team fight, like an actual 5v5, because all they have to do is just start it with like a bar stun or something like that, and then
Well, now
Yeah.
that Sivir has
I mean-
the item, the armor pen, it's so
Yeah.
easier.
On half of it, I agree with you, but I've been in so many games where late game is here, just just smashes your whole team.
No matter what,
with
though,
the wall.
I am not with the late game Azir. I'm all about late game Sivir. Oh,
Yeah,
late
that's
game
what I'm
Sivir is
talking about.
just
That's true.
ludicrous, especially when you get to this late game where we might even get to see an Elder Dragon. When the ricochets start bouncing, you can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, on my team, we literally, when we started losing, we had a win condition where we'd just be like, all right, 550 CS Sivir, let's go. Just wait, and then he'll carry us in the late game. And I think that's what will happen this game, something like that.
Yeah, I do like this defense from CLG. Like, that was ridiculous. And when they get the double right there.
Through the Azir turret, too, so that's rather impressive, too. And look at those 2 crits. All right. If those 2 crits didn't hit, you know, he might be able to turn it around.
I actually wish he would have died to a comment on the way out there, so we could have a dumb. We've had only smarts this whole game. The jungler.
I mean,
I'm so happy with these that we had this match for the jungler matchup because they're both playing really well.
Well, I think it's a lot better than what we just completely blew all the expectations out the window.
Yeah. And
here's another thing that I wanted to point out is the new item from Xmithie. So he's obviously going to go with the Randuin, so you don't go Frozen Heart on Rek'Sai. And so Randuin reduces crit damage, but it's not only the crit damage from physical, it also reduces like magical crits. So things like the Anivia E, the Karthus Q when it's single target. So anything that has those really big numbers is going to get diminished by the Randuin, as well as the Nidalee Q, because Nidalee Q obviously is like a critical execute. So it's going to be a little bit more effective than just against Wild Turtle.
Wow, Reignover's going
that was a questionable.
Look at this.
There's a TP behind, though.
This might be your first dumbs call here. If CLG, it looks like they're going to take this team fight
They're
after
just
that
wiping
play.
Late game Sivir, baby.
Stixie!
Reignover is like, I didn't deserve this.
I think that's probably the game.
That definitely is.
That was.
I am glad that CLG won. It would have been
Yeah, that would have
a
been so tilting to
heartbreaker.
lose off that.
to
Was that a
lose it.
seppuku from Reignover? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Wait, he's trying to end.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Darshan's back. He's
Now people just start pinging him like, you're actually
What a-
trolling. Reignover's trolling now.
I mean, this is his only chance to win the game, so he had to go for it, you know.
Oh,
He's on the
getting
chase.
smacked.
All right. What a ridiculous game, though.
I'm actually really, like, I expected it, to be honest. I expected Reignover to just kind of roll over Xmithie. It was a lane swap, but I think both people played pretty well in this game.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I feel a little bit biased for the player of the game, but 2-1-15 on Xmithie.
I mean, we were only watching 2 players, but honestly,